My name is Jordan Redfield Wade. By day, I'm a PI working for the NACPD. But by night, my friends, my family, and I fight for the city in a different way. We are the guardians of Newark City. I promised my mother as she lay dying that I would protect and defend this city from anyone that would mean to cause it harm. I am a protector. I am a guardian. I am Red Wing. Episode 6. Warriors. When I was a child, my parents brought me to a castle. I was a toddler, and I hardly remember it now, but my favorite photos of us were taken in front of that castle. As we stepped out of the vehicle, I remembered that Castle M had been written on the back of the photograph. I closed my eyes, trying to feel some trace of their presence there, something that the years hadn't eroded away. I felt nothing but a gentle breeze and the aroma of nature, tingled with the smells of small-town living. I opened my eyes and looked up at the castle. The castle had 7 stories, including 2 floors below the first one. The stones that made up the exterior were blue dolomite, and the roof was red. Out in front were 2 iron-wrought lion statues, positioned on either side of the front door. Above the door was an insignia that I recognized. It was the one that had appeared on Dean's arm when he had his fit over a month ago. Faith and I followed Alan Grace through the front door.
Yoo-hoo, I'm home.
This place is gorgeous.
It's even better in the daytime.
A woman was walking down the grand staircase in the front entry hall. She had brown hair pulled into a tight ponytail, and piercing green eyes that were lined with smoky black liner. She was wearing a vintage black dress with a green ribbon tied in a bow around her waist. She had a friendly smile, and it was clear, looking at her and Alan standing next to each other, that they were related.
Amelia, I wasn't expecting you to be up.
Couldn't pass up a chance to meet the famous Red Wing. Plus, I'm waiting for the other part of the crew to arrive. That delivery from Tess Johnstone came through.
Ah, fair enough. I just heard from JV that they are on their way.
Hi. So, why have we been brought here?
Simple, Jordan. We brought you here because the king requested it.
Who exactly is this king you keep speaking about?
That would be me, the Raven King.
We looked up at the top of the staircase. Standing at the top of the stairs was a man who looked to be about 60 years old. His red hair streaked through with salt and pepper gray. He wore a sword at his belt and a black cape seemingly made of thousands of black feathers. The cape joined at his shoulders with a gold feather and a chain. He looked every bit like what you would expect someone called the Raven King to look. Flanking him on either side were 2 people I knew very well, Dean's mothers. They were wearing black togas with gold rope tied around the middle. The most striking change for them was the fact that both of them had, growing out of their back, large black wings. Alan and Amelia bowed, as did Faith. I did not. You
must be Jordan.
You must be joking. Do you really expect me to believe you brought me here so you could just converse with me? Normally, when people want to chat, they pick up a phone and call someone or even send a text message. Hell, you could have even wrote a goddamn letter. You don't just go kidnapping public officials. And just what in the actual fuck are you 2 grown-ass women doing here playing with these fucking psychopaths?
standing there looking like some kind of fallen angel cosplay. You vanished for 3 weeks, no calls, no texts. Also, you can come here and dress up like we're in some fancy Hollywood masquerade? What the actual hell is going on here?
Relax, Jordan. There is much you wouldn't understand.
Relax? What the actual...
We needed all of you for something specific. You wouldn't have come otherwise. But this is of the utmost importance, and we couldn't chance that you or Dean would refuse.
That doesn't make sense. You're his parents. Why would he refuse?
We're his mothers. We know how he'd react. We raised him. We birthed him. We taught him. We know that you're the only thing he'd never leave behind.
So if we have you, Dean will follow. We know our son, and he knows us.
Yeah, but for the years that I've known you, you didn't have wings growing out of your back. Who are you really?
Silence, Jordan.
Silence? This mother...
All will be revealed tomorrow when his trials begin. Your rooms are ready. Alan, take Jordan to his room for the night. Amelia, please accompany Faith to her quarters.
As you wish, sir.
Oh, and Jordan?
What?
I'm not your enemy. I met you when you were just a wee little lad. I knew your parents for many years, and had the honor of fighting alongside them many times. They were honorable people, as are you. So long as you are here, no harm will come to you. If my son passes the trials tomorrow, you will have my blessing to marry him.
And if he fails?
Then it won't matter whether or not you have my blessing. It would be best you pray for his success.
Alrighty, we're here. Amari!
Thank you, JV. I will take them from here.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Have a good evening, everyone.
Amari was tall, with dark cocoa skin and thick, curly, natural black hair. She wore a black tunic embellished with gold around the collar and the hem. She held a wooden staff with gold and black bands going all around it. Her eyes were dark and serious. When you looked into those eyes, you didn't question that she was a warrior. This was a woman who had seen combat, fought, and won, without even breaking a sweat.
Welcome, Dean and friends. My name is Amari Agrinia. I am second in command of the warriors.
Where is Jordan?
He is in his quarters. You will be staying on the second floor, and you will see him when the sun rises. I suggest you get a good night's rest. You want to be well prepared for the trial.
What kind of trial are we talking about?
You must be the Bokur they're calling Sparrow. Very well then. Dean will face trial by combat. If he fails, then all of you will die. However, in the rather unlikely event he succeeds, great fortune will be bestowed on you all.
And what about the rest of us?
Ah, yes, Rook. I've heard much about you from Alan and Amelia. Well, while Dean rests, we have other tasks for the four of you. You must be Jeremy.
Aye, that's me.
You will be brought to your brother. Rook, you will go with him. Sparrow and Whitehawk, you are to come with me and Amelia. We have a task for you to complete.
And what is that task?
You will see soon enough.
Sorry, sister. I'm not going anywhere without answers.
Excuse me?
You heard me. You haven't earned my trust or my assistance. If you don't release Jordan to me, you will get nothing from me.
Oh, that is just too precious. You thought that was a request? No. That was not a request, Tiny Dove. You will do as I ask. Or we can do this the hard way.
Threatening a guest is bad form in literally every cultural tradition. You should be ashamed. Let Marilyn go with them. Jeremy can go to Jordan. Report back to me that he's all right.
You will find that your communication devices have been disabled for the time being. But I can assure you, Jordan and Faith are perfectly fine and completely unharmed.
Bring Jordan to me, then.
I do not obey your commands, Dean Morrigan. I obey the Raven King. He wills this of you, and you will comply.
Or else what?
Such arrogance. If you are asking me if I will fight you, I normally would fight and bring you down without a second thought. However, that goes against my commands. The more you linger with this inane argument, the more time you waste, the more likely you are to fail the trial and doom your friends. Now, go.
Fine. Team, I'll see you soon. Do as they ask for now. We'll get to the bottom of this soon.
Amelia appeared and took Keiran, Marilyn, and Johanna in the direction of the basement staircase. Dean and Jeremy were brought upstairs by Amari.
I take it you already met my brother?
Yep, I met him at the blackjack table.
I'm not surprised. Well, in any case, thank you for agreeing to help.
I haven't agreed to anything. As I explained to Miss Agrina earlier, you haven't earned my help.
Johanna, I can vouch for Amelia. She's good people. Her code name was Fauna when she worked for the division. Amelia, what is going on? It's been almost 8 months since we seen you and Alan.
Oh, that was Alan's doing. He was approached by the Raven King, and he said he wouldn't leave in Bayou City without me. So I came here, and I got a unique job. You see, I work with,
With what?
Cryptids. I work with cryptids.
Wait, cryptids as in monsters?
I wouldn't call them that. How would you like being called a monster?
I've been called worse. You haven't met me in the morning with no coffee when my blood sugar is low.
Cryptids are the creatures and beings that are rare, mysterious, and often magical. Some are humanoid in shape and appearance, others are more bestial. But like all creatures on God's earth, they are unique and have their own personalities. Marilyn, you remember what my powers are?
You can communicate with animals, right?
Well, yeah, that about covers it. I work for this school as the caretaker for the more, animalistic cryptids, I guess you could say. Ah, here we are. Please, don't be shy. Come on in.
What's this school you speak of?
The Berkshire Academy for Cryptids and Fey Folk. We try to, integrate the cryptids of the wild world into greater society at large. Like this critter here.
Oh my God!
Why the hell does that dog have 3 heads?
He's so cute!
Shh, there, puppy. That's a good boy, a good boy. He's a Canis Cerberus, also known as a Cerberus or a hellhound.
Why the hell is it in your office?
Well, that's just it. This is my off-campus office, but there's a full lab right across the hall. The school's nearby, but sometimes I need the quiet of this place. And this pup here, well, we want to rehabilitate him so he can be the therapy dog at the old folks' home down the street. The problem is that I'm the only one who can understand him. That's where you and Keiran come in. I need you two to synthesize my power and create a modified dog collar that will give him the ability to speak English. When I heard you two were coming, I knew I simply had to ask y'all.
Oh, is that all?
Do you have a blood sample for us to use?
Of course, it's in the cooler. I was able to isolate the metahuman part of my genetic sequence, but I couldn't find a way to integrate it with the collar.
Leave that to us. Metahuman biotech is totally my jam. Keiran, you up for being my assistant?
Always, Joe. Just like old times.
Okay, this shouldn't take long.
While y'all are doing that, do you mind if I catch up with Amelia as we head up to the room?
No problem, my love. I'll see you soon.
I'll be waiting for you, stud.
Alrighty, sweetness.
Ugh, both of you stop that right now. Ugh.
Girl, don't hate. Appreciate.
Alrighty, are we ready to test this puppy out?
Weird choice of words, but yes, I think we are.
Alright, let's just slip this on, and okay. Alrighty, Hound Dog, what's your name?
The humans call us Puppy. I'll have you know that our names are Plato, Homer, and Virgil. Plato likes duck, Homer likes chicken, and Virgil likes pork. You can call us PHV.
Alrighty.
Wow, we did it.
Wow. How old are you?
In human years, it's hard to say. I don't know how human years work.
Oh, I see.
Amelia said she was trying to get you ready to go work in the old folks' home.
Oh, yes. We love the elderly. They give us treats. I like them most because they like my stories that I tell them. They also really like poetry, and I can recite 50 different epic poems from memory.
Well, then I'm glad. Puppy, who brought you to the academy?
We were brought here by Miss Johnstone. She's headmistress at the academy. She has the best puppy chow. One time, I was in her office, and out of nowhere, she...
Sorry, Puppy, but it's late, and we've got to figure out what's happening in the morning.
Oh, you mean for the trials? Well, golly, I sure hope we aren't here for that. I heard from Edgar the Turtle that the trials are crazy. I hope your friend pulls through.
Thanks, Puppy. I hope you will, too. Hey, can I ask you something else?
Of course, kind human.
How many of you are there? Like, how many Canis Cerberus are there in the world?
That's tough to say. I know there's us, but I don't know if there are many others. I sure do hope I can meet others like me someday. Maybe you all can help me find them?
We can try, Puppy. We can try.
I'm gonna see if we can duplicate this tech when we get back home. This could really come in handy someday.
I was awoken by the sound of rumbling drums. I had slept rather well, considering. Jeremy had shown up at some point, and when I rolled over and saw him, I was confused for a second, but I made a connection. He woke up when I did, hearing the drums, and we both, in sync, climbed out of bed. We looked at each other and decided without words to put on our suits. When we opened the door to follow the sound, we found a man posted outside of our door. He was wearing what could only be described as modern-day Spartan armor, including a sword, cape, and helmet. He indicated that we should follow him, and, not wanting to argue with a man who was wielding a sword, we followed. We were joined by Keiran and Marilyn, both of whom were also in their suits. Johanna was the last to join us in her White Hawk gear. Somehow, all of us knew like we should be dressed for whatever was going to happen. And that was a little off-putting for me. We were led outside to the courtyard, which was massive. There were 2 lines of people, all dressed modestly. I recognized Liza from the previous day, and Johanna pointed out a woman named Amari to me, who was dressed slightly better than everyone else and had a ceremonial spear. We looked out over the wall and saw a small reflection pool and a smaller building with 4 columns in front of it. It was then that I saw Dean, who was being escorted by Alan. Alan was also wearing modern-day Spartan armor. Dean was wearing similar armor, but definitely less modern and a little more majestic. He didn't have a sword, and for some reason that made me nervous. I wanted to call out to him, but looking around, that seemed like a bad option. Dean was being walked towards 3 people. I recognized them as Dean's 3 parents, even though Emma and Anna looked years younger and were wearing masks made of black iridescent feathers. The Raven King looked every bit the resplendent warrior monarch, with his cape of black feathers, golden crown, and a bejeweled sword with a golden hilt. The ceremonial drumming grew louder. The king raised his hand and the drumming ceased.
Welcome all to this most glorious day. Before me stands a man I have not seen since his birth, but who has been on my mind every day since then. Before me stands my son, Dean Morgan. We're gathered here today because today he will face the trials that so many of his ancestors have before him, as I myself did more than 150 years ago.
Dean looked at him confused. As confused as I was. How could this man be over 150 years old? How was that even possible? It wasn't possible. Was it?
Before I face anything, I need to know this. Who are you, and why must I do any of this?
My name, dear son, is Cedric. Cedric Morgan, the Raven King. I am he who reigns over all the race of warriors.
Who are the warriors?
We are the warriors. Every generation produces warriors from around the world, human beings with powers bestowed by the gods. We are strong, we are bulletproof, we are fast, we are lethal with any weapon known to man. We are beings designed to fight for mankind, should that need ever arise.
And you, Dean, are not only a warrior. You are my child, the child of a king. You were raised by these two spirits of war and fate, and as my son, you are the future king. But you have not been trained by me, or by any warrior, for that matter. That is what the trials are for, to see if you have the heart of a true warrior, the soul of a king, and the courage to be the leader of the warriors.
You have powers beyond the ones you've shown as Warbird. You must tap into that strength.
Failure is not an option. Should you fail this challenge...
Silence hung in the air for a moment. My heart was pounding. Would they kill us if Dean failed? Would they really kill Dean if he failed? Emma held up a hand and snapped her fingers. Dean vanished, as did 5 of the warriors that surrounded us. I noticed that Amari, Liza, and Alan were among those who had been transported. I looked out over the wall and saw them reappear in the field. They were about 300 feet away from where we were. Cedric spoke, and his voice rang out across the field.
The first trial will be for you to fight the 5 best warriors of this generation. The Slayer, the Hunter, the Soldier, the Fighter, and the Paladin.
Are you insane? He's unarmed and doesn't even know what he's doing. Dean!
Begin.
The one that they called the Fighter was the first to strike towards Dean. He slashed his sword for Dean's face, but Dean leapt backwards out of the way. Dean used this opportunity to kick the man in his side to destabilize him. It worked, and the fighter dropped his weapon. Unfortunately, Dean didn't see that Amari the Paladin and Liza the Slayer were both preparing different strikes. The Slayer hit him in the chest, while the Paladin swept Dean's other leg out from underneath him. Dean hit the ground so hard, I could feel the wind get knocked out of me. The warrior that they called Soldier delivered a kick to the side of Dean's head, but Dean grabbed the soldier's boot and pulled them down. Alan, the hunter, stepped back from Dean a slight bit and pulled out a sword. Alan raised the sword above his head and brought it down towards Dean's arm. Dean rolled just in time, putting the soldier's leg in place of where his arm would be. The blade shattered against the soldier's leg, which was not at all what I had been expecting. Dean punched the Slayer in the stomach, and as she fell, he rolled into a standing position where she had been. Amari took her chance to strike Dean in the side, but Dean grabbed it and pulled her forward slightly. She moved forward with the staff, but she lunged to punch Dean in the face, and her fist connected with his jaw. I saw blood come from Dean's mouth as he fell backwards, and the warrior gang descended on him. I turned to look at Cedric, Emma, and Anna.
Are you crazy? They could kill him.
They plan to.
You need to stop this.
He can't.
Not until it's all done.
You are monsters.
This is tradition.
Yeah? Well, your tradition is bullshit.
I turned to whatever warrior was nearest me and punched him in the face. I kicked the one that was on the other side of me in the face and threw 2 darts at Cedric. Cedric dodged both of them, which gave me just enough time to get to him, flicking Redfeather to its full length and holding it against the king's neck. I was well aware that 3 warriors had swords trained at my head and back.
Tell them to back off. This is not a fair fight.
No, Jordan, there's no need for that. Look.
I narrowed my eyes, but I turned back to look at Dean. All 5 warriors he'd been fighting were down, and Dean was floating. I could tell from afar that something was different. There were black markings all over Dean's skin. The thing that was strangest to me were the 2 black wings that were spreading out from his back. He was flying with wings, and he was flying back to where we were. When he reached us, Dean's eyes were glowing a deep green color.
Those were your best, old man? That's a pity.
Well done, my boy.
Dean's wings faded, but the markings remained. His eyes stopped glowing a slight bit, but he still looked angry.
What else do you need me to do?
You've proven yourself as a warrior, but now you must prove the soul of a king. And there's only one way we can test that.
I was going to ask how, but before I could, a deafening roar came from overhead. I looked above us and thought for a second that I had to be dreaming. When the beast touched down in the courtyard, I knew I wasn't hallucinating because I could feel the full weight of it in front of me, and I could feel the ground shake. Standing before us was a golden dragon, roughly 12 feet tall, with a long neck and long tail and 2 leathery wings. The dragon stared at Dean, and Dean stared back. Dean walked towards the dragon. I was frozen to the spot. Dean was less than a foot away from this very, very large creature. As we watched, the dragon and Dean made no moves. And then, finally, after what felt like a million years, the dragon kneeled before Dean, and Dean put his hand on top of the creature's scaly head. I almost thought that I heard the creature purr its approval.
Well, that settles that. Warriors, I present to you your future king, Dean Morrigan.
Dean's eyes softened and the rage disappeared, and I ran to him. He turned to face me, and I practically tackled him and kissed him. During the time that Dean had been dealing with the dragon, Amari, Liza, and Alan had come back. All 3 of them smiled at Dean, impressed by what he had managed to do.
Oh, thank God you're safe.
Me? Thank God you are safe. I don't know what the hell is wrong with these people. Sorry for threatening your dad, I guess?
It's fine. I totally get it.
Not the best thing to do to your future father-in-law.
Johanna and Keiran had walked up to the dragon and slipped a strange collar around its neck. I could have sworn I heard the dragon asking them something about whether or not they had puppy biscuits. Cedric was approaching us. Dean put an arm around me defensively, and I glared at Cedric.
You, old man, have a lot of explaining to do.
Of course, of course. If you and Jordan would kindly retire with me to my chambers upstairs, I will explain everything. Jeremy, please come with us. Oh, Amari.
Yes, sir.
Please commence with the next event. You know which one.
With pleasure and swiftness, sir.
We entered a room that was the size of the apartment that Johanna and I had lived in 6 months ago. There was a fireplace that was going, which seemed to be giving off the smell of vanilla, apples, and cinnamon. The room was darkly lit but didn't feel sinister. It just felt old-fashioned yet high class. Cedric sat down in the chair nearest to the fire. There was a couch opposite him, and that was where Dean and I sat. And that was where Dean, Jeremy, and myself sat. Dean's mother sat on either side of us. Emma was next to Jeremy, and Anna was next to Dean. There was an awkward silence for a moment, where we all just stared at each other. And then, we all just started laughing. It was a strange spot to be in. Definitely not the usual thing anyone would expect to happen to them. It's not every day that you get out of jail only to get kidnapped with the hater who had just tried to get you convicted of accessory to murder, mend the bad past with said hater on the way back to a French-style chateau in western Massachusetts, where your fiancé's absentee father and a band of weirdly strong cult members try to kill your fiancé, and you find out your fiancé is royalty, and descended from ancient Celtic spirit goddess thingies, not to mention finding out dragons exist, and that your future husband has the ability to grow wings. No, not your typical 24-hour period. Cedric broke the laughter first.
I admit this is a strange situation. I suppose I shall start from the beginning. Jordan, a couple things for you to know. When you came here at age 3, your parents were trying to figure out what to do with the powers they'd extracted from your Uncle Isaac. They had reason to believe he would come back and try to exact some kind of revenge. Without his abilities, he couldn't tap into the power in the soil beneath the city. They figured the best thing they could do would be to have the strongest witches they knew cast wards on Newark City to prevent anyone from remembering the former Guardian team. Anna and Emma were instrumental in helping everyone forget. They had me keep them until such time as Isaac died, at which point I would return it to you, which I will do shortly. However, before we get to that, we must tell you why all of this had to happen.
Centuries ago, when the human race was young, the old gods, those present across the old faiths, began to regret that their power was contingent on people believing in them. Some of them turned on the humans and began to eradicate us. But the ones who stayed on our side saw fit to give us 4 powerful gifts.
The first gift was from the goddess who, in the Greek pantheon, was called Hecate. She gave us the gift of magic. The second was from the Roman god Vulcan, who gave us the gift of invention. The third was the gift of wisdom and heart, which came from Athena herself. And the final gift was the warriors. The warriors were granted the powers of most demigods, in exchange for the promise that, whenever a god comes to Earth and threatens the safety of mortals, the warriors would convene and defend humans till their dying breath.
31 years ago, A power was born into this world that could bring the end to humanity. I felt it when it happened. I felt the energy of that birth from across the Atlantic. This triggered the birth of a new generation of warriors. The Raven King is the title given to the member of the Morrigan, specifically the one who was born a warrior. I knew that I would not be able to lead the warriors against this power. So Anna and Emma and myself made the decision to bring you into the world. I will spare you the details on that part, but I will tell you this. I was there when you were born. I was the first to hold you. I saw in your little green eyes all the hope for the future and the salvation of the world. I also felt something I hadn't been expecting. I didn't realize how much I'd wanted a son. For 2 years, Dean, you stayed here with me in this castle. You know, you and little Amari hatched that dragon egg together. You named him Clover. Here's a picture. I keep it on my mantle to remind myself of you and the time we were able to spend together. But I realized this castle was no place for you to spend your youth. I didn't want to raise you to just be a warrior. I wanted you to have a regular life, so you could experience the world you'd be protecting. Anna, Emma, and myself decided that it was best that they raise you within the wards of Newark City. Malia and Terence agreed to keep an eye on you from afar, and they did, until you and your brother were born, Jordan. They became preoccupied with protecting their son, which I could never fault them for. I will say, though, I did feel it when you were born, Jordan and Jeremy. I felt your births, because you also possessed the souls of the divine raven. Indeed, when I met Jordan as an infant, I informed Anna and Emma that they should begin to teach you and prepare you in some way. Your union with Dean was not exactly planned, but we couldn't be more happy that you found love for each other. We didn't know where you were, Jeremy, as you were being cloaked from us until your powers were activated, at which point Hunter kept tabs on you from within the division. You see, Dean, Jordan, and Jeremy, not only is Dean the Raven King, but Jordan and Jeremy, you are the future spirits of the Morrigan. And that is why we needed to get all 3 of you here, so that we could tell you this. The time has come. That dark force is... Oh, do come in.
Sorry to interrupt, but, the time has come.
Already? Well then, I'll get to that last part at a later point. Right now, we've got something to do.
Like what?
Well, I believe it's time for Jordan and Dean's wedding, of course.
What?
Excuse me?
Well, you're going to get married anyway at some point.
So why wait?
I can't. We can't.
Why not?
For one, Jared, my adoptive father, who's supposed to walk me down the aisle, isn't here.
I can solve that problem.
Emma snapped her fingers, and swirling feathers rose up around a human-sized shape. From those feathers, Jared appeared, looking confused as hell and gripping his firearm.
Whoa, what the...
Oh, Jared, it's okay. My mom brought you here.
Oh. Hey, Dad?
Jordan? Dean? Oh, Anna? Emma? Good to see you. It's been a while. What's with the costumes? And furthermore, where the hell am I? And who is this dude?
Cedric Morrigan, Dean's father, the Raven King. Welcome to Castle Morrigan. And you are?
Jed Lovelace, police commissioner for Newark City. Dean's boss, Jordan's adoptive dad. I'm definitely too old for this magic shit. Why am I here?
Jordan and Dean's wedding, of course.
A what?
We still haven't agreed to this accelerated timeline yet. For starters, we were going to get married at my family's estate to honor my parents. Also, neither of us have the wedding tuxedos that I ordered like 5 months ago.
You won't need the tuxedos. We will deal with that in a moment. Plus, Jordan, you're aware Keiran can summon your parents' spirits anywhere in the world. He's doing that as we speak.
Dad, stop. What's the rush? Why does this need to happen now?
Because once you two are bound together, the three of you will be ready to become the new spirits of Morrigan, and you will officially become the king, which I insist must happen today, so you'll be able to face what is coming. What kind of father would I be if I let you face danger unprepared? Now, my boys, will you accept?
I looked at Dean and my heart skipped a beat. There was no question to me. It was, in that moment, the only thing that I wanted.
Well, I'm game if you are, D.
Of course, Jay.
Okay. Cedric, we accept.
Perfect. Now, suits fit for the kings you both are. Let's try these.
Cedric snapped his fingers. Slowly, I felt myself lift into the air and swirl around. I couldn't believe this. I was having my Cinderella moment. I shut my eyes, wanting to be surprised. When I felt my feet gently touch the ground again, I opened my eyes and looked down. I gasped. It wasn't a tuxedo so much as it was a fancy medieval studded leather armor. It kind of reminded me of my father's armor from his days as a masked vigilante. Complete with a cape, made of red, black, and gold, feather-like shapes of what I believe to be either leather or vinyl. It was a little bit Ren Fair-esque, but honestly, I loved it. I looked up at my fiancé. Dean matched me almost perfectly, except where my outfit was red. His was green, the same color as his eyes. He looked perfect, and I couldn't stop myself from smiling.
Dean, you look perfect. Who am I kidding? You are perfect.
Me? No, Jay, you're perfect.
If I may say so, boys, you both look perfect.
So, the fathers agree. And the mothers?
Just as I always pictured it.
Perfect indeed. I've never felt more proud.
Then we're ready. Right, gentlemen. We'll see you in the hall.
With another snap, everyone except the two of us were transported out of the room. Presumably into their places. Dean and I looked at each other and laughed before kissing one last time as unmarried men.
This day has been a roller coaster. I think your family might be a little bit crazy.
I'm pretty sure you're right. Are you ready for all this?
I want nothing more than to officially be able to call you my hubby.
Well, that makes two of us. Shall we?
Let's do this.
We clutched each other's hands and opened the doors. We walked across the short hallway and followed the wedding music from the other room. When we got in there, everyone was there. As we walked down the aisle, I hugged Johanna as we passed her.
Go get him, Tiger.
Keiran was sitting in the front row. Next to him were spectral figures of my mom and my dad. They smiled and waved to me. They couldn't speak or touch me, but their presence was all I needed. They approved. We reached the front where Dean's father stood. It made sense that Cedric would facilitate the ceremony. Since he was a king, he could absolutely do that. I held Dean's hand, and at the proper moment, I said I do. And Dean did the same. And when we kissed and became joined together, I felt something change inside me. Something deep within my core shifted and rose up and out of myself. Johanna told me later on that when I kissed Dean, the lights had flickered, and something appeared behind me. Something that appeared to be the shadow of wings. Jeremy told me he felt something change in himself as well. I would come to understand that that was the moment we not only gained new abilities, but when we gained access to something that would change the entire world forever. I now know that that moment was the beginning of the end.
Thank you for listening to Red Wing. Today's episode was written by J.V. Hampton-VanSant. This week you heard the voice talents of J.V. Hampton-VanSant, Elie Hirshman, Amanda Jacobson, Skyler Paring, Lucy Fitzgerald, Brittany Nicholson, Andrew Giotta, Graham Rowat, Katie Dixon, Georgie Yukiko Donovan, Chris the Toph Green, Jordan Cobb, Asia Romano, and Arthur Tisserand. For the complete cast list, please visit redwingpodcast.com. The title this week is based on the song Warriors by Imagine Dragons. You'll find a link to that song in the show notes. Episode art this week is by Michael Godfrey. Our music is composed by Nico of We Talk of Dreams. If you want to listen to any of these themes, please visit our website. Check out our show notes for links to our merch, our social media, and our website. As always, stay safe and fly high, heroes.